What is good, all of our listeners and viewers? Welcome back to another episode of Games and Groceries. My name is Adam.
And I'm Liz.
And I don't think I like the sound of your tone, mister. We're here with episode 132, where we're going to be talking about our game logos. Important, but first, well, with special guest, I should say, with Cory Schmitz. But first, we've got some segments for you. Yes, we do. Oh my goodness, I forgot to say who our guest was. I've been wanting to...
Oh my gosh.
I wanted to record with this guest for a year and a half now, and it's just like literally... Didn't say his name. That's great. Great start to the podcast.
It's okay. You remember that he's coming on. So
I do.
That's what's important.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun show. He's going to be talking to us a little bit about game logos, game artwork, and just seeing, like, is it important for game logos to appear, and should we actually be taking them more seriously? But, you know, but first we got some segments for you.
Yeah.
Liz, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good. Yeah. That's
How are
good.
you doing?
I'm doing spectacular.
Yeah?
I don't know, not really.
Aw.
I'm doing better. I mean, I'm old now. I'm officially 30 years old as recording this podcast. So I'm old and decrepit.
No.
Yeah, there's a lot of plans for the future now. Now that I'm 30, it's just I'm thinking about a lot of different things. But, you know, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So far, 30's pretty rocking.
First 24 hours went well?
First 24 hours, really good. Yeah.
I'm glad.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. But let's get the show started already. So we're on social media. You can follow us on Twitter at Gaming Groceries, or you can follow us individually. I'm at Ace the Grocer.
And I'm at Journey First.
You can also follow us on Instagram, Games Groceries, all one word. We could see behind the scenes photos, some memes here and there, as well as some questions I will ask you about the podcast. Whoa! You get to be in on a discussion. I will ask you a certain question about the discussion, and I want you to be a part of it. But also we're on Facebook, so great. Just find us on Facebook. It's a garbage dump over there. But speaking of garbage dumps, Discord. Not really. I shouldn't say that. That's Reddit. But Discord, we have one.
Yeah.
We have one now. So I will have a link in the description where you're listening on audio or video. We have a Discord open now for the Games and Groceries. I have some different pages there. So, you know, come join us. I will ask you the questions on the Discord as well. Be a community over there of pineapples, if you will. But our little pineapples. But so that's social media taken care of, but we also have a website, gamesgroceries.com, where you can listen to all the podcasts from the website, as well as you can find out where to listen to the audio versions of the podcast, as well as some articles I've written in the past. Fantastic. And finally, if you're watching this on YouTube, definitely hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when all these podcasts come out. This is now just a podcast channel. We have a new channel coming out pretty soon called eVaults. It's in the works. We have the video filmed. Now we're just editing it. And, you know, subscribe here if you like podcasts. Subscribe to eVault when it comes out for video game discussions. And hopefully give us a review over on Apple Podcasts or even on Podchaser. So with all that said and done, stop wasting your time here. Let's just get into it. Let's just get into the first segment.
Movie Minutes.
Movie Minutes is a segment that we talk about the movies that we watched in the past week, whether it be on Netflix, Hulu, or even HBO Max, not really in theaters, not just yet, and we'd like to give you a review, a recommendation, or not a recommendation. Here on Games Groceries, we like to give you a 5-point scale on the recommendation. It starts at avoid at all costs, pass, enjoyable, solid, and perfect for us. So this week's movie actually comes from Netflix. It's not a Netflix original. It's just it came on Netflix pretty recently, and it is a film with Jason Momoa. It's called Braven. Woo! All right. So we're gonna go into our final recommendations out of a 5-point scale, and then we're gonna explain why we did that.
Yes.
We did that last week, and we'll just go ahead and do it this week.
Okay.
So, but yeah, out of our 5-point scale, from avoid at all costs, pass, enjoyable, solid, and perfect for us, what did you give it?
I gave it a solid.
Solid.
Yes.
I also gave it solid.
Yeah.
Which is not exactly perfect, but a little bit more than enjoyable.
Yeah.
It was a good film. So let's explain why we gave it solid. So very first thing, The setting and the actual atmosphere, the ambiance of this movie is very dark. At first, it's very looking to your past, looking at as a family man, trying to go forward and trying to rebuild bonds from family. And it really tries to make you feel for each character and why they're doing what they're doing. And it's really trying to make things right, but you're always trying to, your life is always pushing you backwards when you're always trying to make things right. What did you think about the tone of the movie?
I don't think about it that deeply.
Yeah.
The beginning it just starts off like really nice, showing like about the family and stuff, but like, something's gonna go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, the tone was really. I don't really know about tone of movies, if I'm being honest.
Oh,
I don't know what we're talking about. I don't I know what you're talking about, and I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I can't describe it though.
But did you enjoy what the movie was trying to set up in terms of trying to portray the characters the way they were?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think about it like you're asking like deep questions, and I don't think that deeply about it.
My goodness. Well, what did you think about the movie going into it?
I was excited to know like what was going to happen and why.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was excited about it going into it. Like it just seemed interesting. That's why we chose it.
Yeah.
So, and I was interested in seeing Jason Momoa play like a mountain man.
Yeah.
As opposed to like his other roles where he's more
mountain man than anything else.
He's not mountain man in any of his other roles.
Yeah.
He's more of like a mysterious.
Yeah. Brooding.
Buff guy. He's a mysterious buff guy in most of his other movies.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, he's more like mountain family man. He runs a lumber business. So it's like that was like what drove me into this movie at first. Because I was like, I've never seen him in this type of role. So it was very interesting.
Yeah, and here's the thing is that it's very much, as the movie goes forward, you start to see that it's very much a 80s, 90s action movie. It's set a lot like Rambo or even Die Hard is. But, going to the title of the movie, Braven, that's the guy's name, Joe Braven, much like John Rambo. So it's set up a lot like the way Rambo was set up.
Yeah.
And the one thing I did like is that the tension of the scenes was brought out by the quiet landscape.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But also a well added score into here. Like it didn't always play the score.
It didn't overpower.
Exactly. And it kind of let the quietness of the landscape kind of take its business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved each tension. You kind of like were sitting on the edge of your seat, like waiting to see how
and every time like someone went off on their own, you're like, oh no. They're gonna die.
Exactly.
They didn't always die, in case you're wondering.
No.
But you like every time something small happens, you're just like, oh no.
And the last thing I'll say, closing thoughts on this is that while this followed a lot of the same tropes as 80s, 90s action film do, it very much modernized it, and it's hit its marks every time it did it. Like I said, like it hit some tropes. It did. But what it did, it was fine with it.
Yeah.
When it was trying to aim for a trope, about a bad guy, or how Joe Braven gets out of a certain situation, or how a scene plays out, there are tropes there. But when it does, it hits it. It does it well. It does it modernized. And I enjoyed it for that way. And that's the thing. The motives made sense to a sense.
To a sense.
Yeah, I mean, there were some motives that I was just
there were some things that I'm like, this all could have been avoided.
Yeah.
Had we done something else.
But the action was great. The direction was great. You knew exactly where we were going each time. You weren't lost in the movie.
Yeah, they didn't do anything that I was like, wait.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
There were just things that didn't make sense. Like
a certain 80s action movie does.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like one of those things that's like, how is that person still alive?
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those kinds of movies, but it's still enjoyable, but it crossed over enjoyable for us. It was a solid movie.
We really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah. It wasn't perfect.
No.
It wasn't perfect for us, but it was still a very much solid movie for us to watch.
Yes, definitely. I would watch it again.
Yeah. And it's only an hour and a half, right? I think
I don't think it was too long.
At most, it was like an hour 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But those are our brief thoughts about the movie Braven. You can find it on Netflix. Definitely check it out. We gave it solid, and it's an enjoyable time if you like action movies. But yeah, very much enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we just talk about some video game news? Why don't we do it?
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's go into it. Let's go into our second segment.
Top 3 Gaming News.
The top 3 gaming news is the gaming news that we saw in the past week. We'd like to rank it 3, 2, 1 just to give you a condensed version of what's going on in the gaming industry. Here's what's going on. Gaming news.
Yeah.
Also, not that much news.
No.
But when the news comes out, it's pretty significant.
Yeah.
We're going into January where not a lot happens in the industry, but we're here for it. We're here for the ride, the trolley ride of January. So
trolley ride.
the trolley ride. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about some Nintendo news first.
Okay.
So Nintendo has finally acquired Next Level Games. All right. Woo. If you don't know what Next Level Game is, it's a PowerPoint right behind us. They made Luigi Mansion 3. Wow, cool. Yeah, it's Luigi.
Well, I couldn't see what it was
Yeah.
in that camera, so I was like, wait, it is?
Yeah,
That's what's behind me?
Yeah, Luigi. That's Luigi right there.
That's weird.
Luigi. So yeah, Nintendo is in the process of acquiring Next Level Games, and now it will be officially a Nintendo subsidiary, which is great because they
Subsidiary or subsidiary?
Subsidiary. Thank you. But Next Level Games has made the likes of like I said before, Luigi's Mansion 3, but also what I didn't know is that they made Mario Strikers. I didn't know they were involved with that.
My little sister and cousin loved that game.
Exactly. They also made likes of the Captain America game. I believe they also made Spider-Man Friend or Foe. But they came out and they also said that we're kind of done with movie tie-ins. We want to focus on IPs that matter to us, and that's where they made Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yeah.
Now they did kind of slip up with Luigi's Mansion on the 3DS, as well as a spin-off of Metroid, which didn't do so hot either. But when they hit their mark, they hit it. And Nintendo recognized it, and they finally brought them on.
Cool.
Which Nintendo does not do often.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't really report much on, like, Nintendo acquiring.
Nope. Even when they do Nintendo IPs, they don't go ahead and acquire them.
Yeah.
The only ones I can think of is this and Retro Studios. And I think the article linked down below, it lists out the other one. But I want to read this quote right here from the article, which is linked down below. The Vancouver-based studio has long been an ally of Nintendo's. It developed the well-received Mario football spin-off Super Mario Strikers, as I said, and its sequel for the Wii, as well as the Wii iteration of Punch-Out! In 2016, Next Level Games was memorably tasked with creating a Metroid spin-off largely without a series star, Samus, which resulted in a widely panned Metroid Prime Federation Force, which, what I said before, they didn't hit the mark on that. But they hit the mark on Luigi's Mansion 3, which is why I think that Nintendo finally made the very rare call and said,
Yeah.
you're going to be officially Nintendo licensed now.
Yeah.
So it's good news for Next Level Games. I
Yeah.
think they're going to do great with there. Nintendo sees them as a great potential because they don't do it often. So I'm excited for this. This is great.
Yeah.
Cool. Good
Yeah.
stuff. But why don't we move on to the number 2 gaming news, which is about Epic Games.
Okay.
Epic bought them all.
Cool.
Did you think that I said bought them all? No, I said bought a mall. They bought a mall, dude.
I love them all sometimes.
Well, now they bought one.
Cool.
And they're going to be using this as the headquarters for Epic Games starting in 2024. So they're going to be building this up and remodeling it.
Yeah.
And it will be their new headquarters in coming
It'd
2024.
be funny if they didn't remodel it and they were like, all right, so you work in the Claire's store.
Yeah.
And you work in Journeys.
What the? My goodness. Who works in Spencer's then?
Oh.
My goodness. Let me read this article. Link down below. All the articles will be linked down below. saying, sitting on 87 acres, Cary Town Center, like many shopping malls in the United States, has struggled to remain open as anchor tenants have left and closed altogether thanks to shopping trends moving online. WRAL-TV of Raleigh noted that a few stores remain open there, and much of the mall is blocked off. Its current owners picked up in 2019 for $31 million. Then got Cary Town Council to approve its rezoning, which would permit office use, hotel rooms, and multifamily housing in addition of commercial space. So it says there in a quote that they bought it for $31 million. Want to know how much Epic paid for it? $95 million.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. So they bought it for $95 million. And like it says here, it sits on 87 acres of land.
That's a lot of land.
Now, it did
It's a big mall.
It is. It's quite a big mall. Well, no, that's from Fortnite right there.
Oh, okay.
That's not the Cary Town Center.
Well, I assume that once I turned around and saw what it was.
Yeah, no, that's from Fortnite. Now, to put this in perspective, though, when I hear 87, I'm like, wow, that's going to be a huge campus for a company. 87 acres. I was just curious, just in comparison's sake, how big is Google's headquarters?
Yeah.
How big is that? Google's headquarters sits at 7,855 acres.
Oh my goodness.
So Epic, it's not going to be that epic. Get it? Because epic. But that's what I mean. It's like it's a pretty sizable headquarters, but it's not near Google or Microsoft. I think I looked up Microsoft. I can't remember, but it was definitely in the thousands, above 5,000.
Could you imagine?
What's that?
Just
Imagine
that
what?
many acres.
I can't.
I can't even fathom what that looks like.
Yeah. It's crazy. But
It's insane.
But it's pretty interesting that they have bought a mall, and yeah, it's pretty cool. Articles are linked down below. Epic does share some details of how they will help the town of Cary. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, but they bought a mall. It's going to be the headquarters. Let's move on to the number one gaming news. We're talking about Cyberpunk again. Oh my! Is there going to be a week where we don't talk about Cyberpunk? Probably not. But let's talk about the player base in Cyberpunk.
Okay.
Cyberpunk 2077 has lost 79% of its player base.
So bad.
Dip. but
Dip.
but yeah, they lost 79% within 3 weeks,
Wow.
which is intense. So this is coming from Get Reels. I can't remember the sites, but it takes numbers from the Steam launch. It takes numbers from Steam player bases. So this is coming from PC players. This is not coming from console players. And that's important to know because if you think about it as console players, you're like thinking, oh, of course, I'm not surprised they didn't lose 100% of the players.
Yeah.
This is coming from PC, which
where it was running fine.
Yeah, it was running just fine. Anybody that says they had a good time usually will say one of two things. Either they were on PC or surprisingly Stadia.
Huh.
They had a great time on Stadia.
Alrighty.
But they lost 79%.
That's a lot.
So I want to read this quote from the article linked down below, which you should definitely check out that article because they show charts and statistics between Witcher 3 as well as Cyberpunk, but it's interesting to read. But I want to read this one quote. While that 79% drop in players is worrying, most single-player games typically lose around the same amount of players, if not even more, after the first month on Steam. Open-world games like Cyberpunk are usually the exception, and compared to The Witcher 3, CD Projekt Red's new digital playground certainly isn't doing well at keeping players interested in coming back for more.
Wow.
So I do agree with the article. I have to agree with the articles. They deal with statistics in Steam, but saying that most single-player games, they do dip within the first month, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, you beat the story, boom, you're done.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But the exception is open world games.
Yeah.
Where you're constantly doing side missions, exploring different worlds, and it doesn't usually dip that quickly.
Yeah.
But you know what's even surprising? The Witcher 3, it took 3 months to dip to 79%.
CD, what is it? Cyberpunk?
Yeah, Cyberpunk is what we're talking about. Yeah.
No, I knew what we were talking about. The name, I said CD Projekt Red instead of Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Anyway, that one's just a whole big mess.
Yeah.
That's it's going to exceed all expectations of failure.
Well, like, it's not even, I don't think even on PC, it's a matter of it's busted. But what I do like with the quote is that saying, there's not much in there for you to keep coming back to the open world. Skyrim and Witcher 3 and any other RPG will have side missions and activities and upgrades and replayability and all these different things that make you want to come back to the game.
Yeah.
And the way CD Projekt Red was coming to it, they were kind of promoting Cyberpunk 2077 as RPG of the decade.
Yeah.
Of any RPG that's ever come out. Now, they always said that it's a smaller world than Witcher 3, but it's much more dense. There's a lot more things to do. But the fact that even PC players have kind of dipped out of Cyberpunk within 3 weeks.
Within not even a whole month.
Yeah, within the first month of its launch, it's dipped 79% of its player base. I wouldn't be shocked with a game like this dipping 50%. It's fine. Like that's one thing.
Yeah.
But the dip 79%, almost 80, pretty much 80% at this point.
That's major.
It is, because what is there to do in Cyberpunk?
Exactly.
Apparently, there's not much.
Exactly.
So it's kind of disappointing to hear, and very disappointing for. There's no real rant here. I know I've been ranting about Cyberpunk, but it's just sad that when you dip that much for an open world game, it's not even about the patches; it's about the content involved. And
there's just no content.
I don't even think this is a failure in terms of the glitches. I think this is just a dud at this point. I don't know if they can come back from this. And there is a lot of rumors coming around that Cyberpunk will come back as a No Man's Sky, as No Man's Sky did. It's a majorly different story. That's completely
totally
different
stories.
Because No Man's Sky had a sandbox. Like, you could do anything. You could go anywhere. Like, it was your story. Whereas Cyberpunk is kind of a sandbox. Now, again, I haven't played it. I've only watched Let's Plays. But it doesn't give you a lot of options to do your own thing. I think Woodhawker, Beat 'em Ups, he did a great job of defining what was the problem with CD Projekt Red in making this. And he said that, like, he replayed missions and it gave him the same results, even though he did a different thing.
Yeah.
So there's not much to go back to. There's not much replayability because you played the story.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But that's all I really have to say about the matter. It's just
there's not much to say about it. It's just
sad.
It is.
Yeah, it's disappointing that a game was marketed to be ambitious and
it was supposed to be amazing, and
it was supposed to change the way RPGs come to be, the way Witcher 3 did. Because Witcher 3, when that game came out, it actually legitimately changed the way RPGs were made. And now Cyberpunk 2077, it was supposed to be the follow-up to redefine what an RPG is, and it did nothing.
Yeah.
It did nothing significant, and some might argue that's not even an RPG to begin with. But it is what it is. But I think we're done with this.
I think so.
Yeah. Just like how players of Cyberpunk are done with it, we're done with this with this section. We want to bring on our guest. Our good friend, hopefully by the end. So Cory Schmitz, if you don't know him, Cory Schmitz has done a lot of graphic design for a lot of things that you very much enjoy, including the logo for Oculus. He's done the logo for Polygon, Bleacher Report. You can actually go on his website and look at all the things that he actually designed. He did Below. He did the Ghost of Tsushima logo. So he's got a lot to say about what game logos are about. I'm very excited to bring him on.
Yeah.
I've read an article about him in Game Informer, and I was like, there's going to be a day where I get to talk with this guy. So I'm very excited to bring him on. So let's not delay this anymore. Let's just get to it. Let's go into it with our final segment with our special guest, Cory Schmitz.
Coffee time.
All right, everybody, we are back with our very special guest, the king of logos, the king of Brooklyn, if you will. It's Cory Schmitz.
Hi.
Cory,
how's it going?
Really good. We're psyched to have you on here. Like I've said to our audience before, we've read your article in Game Informer. You just seem to have this great mind for graphic design, game logos, just a great mind in general. And we just wanted to, have you on. But how are you doing? How are you handling the situation at hand, if you will?
Yeah, it's been interesting, hard to work. So in the past couple of days, but just watching the news and trying to work.
Yeah.
A little depressing, but
Yeah.
I know it's terrible. We're only in January, and things are just skyrocketing at this point.
Yeah, I think once Bean Dad happened, it was kind of just set the tone, I think. So
yeah, it's a wonderful world we live in, but hopefully January 20th will change everything. Who knows? But
who knows?
But before we get started, Cory, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your work, kind of your resume here? What have you done that's significant, more than I can?
Oh yeah. So I'm a graphic designer, mostly focused in games. I do some non-game work too, but that's my real main passion, I guess. And also, mostly focused on the branding end, so logos, etc. But every once in a while, I'll do packaging or poster or whatnot. So I've been doing it freelance on my own for about 10 years almost. I got started on my freelance career with Sound Shapes. I don't know if you know that game. It was like a Vita game. It's like an indie Vita game that Sony published, and it was really, really fun. And so that was like my first kind of big thing I did. And it was, I did like the character design even in that, and the menus and the logo. And then some other stuff I did that I'm super proud of was did the logo for Polygon and Analog, the company that makes the Super NT and the Analog Pocket, whatnot. What else? 8-Bit Do.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and Valorant recently.
Valorant.
And Control. Yeah, lots of game stuff. I just try to bring kind of my own approach to the game logo. You try to keep it bold and impactful and be memorable.
Right.
And then and then some non-logo stuff. Like I did the Res Infinite packaging for the vinyl release with like a big book, and that was really, really fun. Just kind of stuff in that realm.
Jeez.
Nice.
And that's why we wanted to bring you on. You've done a lot, not even just with gaming. You also did, if I'm correct, you also did Bleacher Report's logo.
I didn't do the logo for Bleacher Report, the whole company. I think they did that in house. They have a really good team there. But I did do a bunch of their like sub brands with my buddy Dylan. We did like the BR Gaming and the BR Kicks and the football one, and I've done some other non-gaming stuff. Do a lot of gig posters, and I do album art for all sorts of musicians, and then do a lot of did a lot of other Vox Media logos like Eater and I'm blanking now. Lots of fun projects.
Matt,
I really like doing it.
And that's the thing. That's why I want to kind of get your mind on this thing. And the first question I want to ask you, as we are discussing why game logos are actually important. And I think to actually define this topic, and we can all go around the table here, including TV Cory here. Why are game logos actually important when branding a game?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, is that not a lot of people really focus on the logo in of itself.
Mm-hmm.
They focus more on social media aspects or even
Yeah.
box art in general, but the logo in of itself, they don't really understand why it's important. So, Cory, what are your thoughts? Why are game logos needed?
That's interesting. I mean, I feel like you could have a game with a terrible logo and it would still be fine, but
Yeah.
but I like to think they're important because there's a lot of thought put into them. So why are they important? Well, I mean, you watch a game trailer and then usually the whole game trailer ends on a logo, and that is kind of meant to sum up everything in a sense. Like it's kind of the last impression you're left with.
Yeah.
And just something to set the tone, basically. Like you think of like some really good ones, like The Last of Us, for instance, is like super immediately effective, and you just can kind of get the tone they're going for right away, even though it's just a simple font with some texture on it. It really just like evokes the tone perfectly. And I think they're meant to kind of just summarize a game in a certain sense, or just capture the tone of the game, and kind of portray that to the audience. And I think that is important in the same way that box art's important, or any other aspect of the game making process.
Yeah.
And you're right. They're kind of people see them and take them as kind of just they don't look too much into them, I don't think, very often. So they're you see like a thread on the Reset Era about the box art, and then there every couple few months there might be one of like your favorite game logos, but I don't know.
And that's the terrible thing, is that like you said, there's a lot of thought put into it, and you can tell a lot about what a game's theme might be just from the logo in of itself. I think one of my favorite logos that you've done, Cory, is the logo for Below. And
Below, that was like the second one I ever did, I think.
And I loved the way you designed it, because you had your mountain, but part of the lettering was a descent into the mountain.
Exactly.
And I liked how you portray that, because then you get to see what the theme of the game is just from the art of it.
I still get a lot of compliments about that logo, and so that was interestingly. Cappy made that game, and I was in Canada at the time. So when I was working on Sound Shapes, I think like Cappy was on the 5th floor, and then the team at Queasy who made Sound Shapes was on the floor above.
Oh, really?
Same building, and and there was a lot of like kind of cohabitation between those two offices, and I was staying with Chris Petrowski from Cappy, and then so he hired me to do the Below logo, and he also like creative directed the logo and came up with some of the ideas behind it. But I think that's a really good one, and it just is. I think there's many different ways to communicate a game tone through a logo, and that in that instance, it's kind of like an icon doing it rather than through tone. It is a nice. You kind of see it, and you kind of get an impression of what the game's going to be like. Maybe it's also a good thing that people don't notice a logo sometime, because it maybe that means something. I don't know.
And that's the thing. I'll get into this a little bit later about should a game logo actually be designed to be naked to the eye, more natural.
Yeah.
But
I think that's something that I think about a lot if I'm doing a logo with done a couple ones recently where the key art is in mind is very like loud and busy, and so the logo has to be kind of melting into that a little bit and not be too clashy. So sometimes it's more about just doing
yeah.
you don't want it to be too obnoxious or too loud or too stand out ish.
Yeah, Liz, I was gonna say, do you know any game logos that you can think of that kind of really stuck out to you?
Not particularly, because I have a really bad memory.
Yeah.
But I was actually going to say almost the opposite, not the opposite of what you guys are saying, but I think that people subconsciously look at the logo and find it important because it's that like don't judge a book by its cover thing. We all do it with books and video games. You see the cover, you see the logo, and you kind of like that's what's drawing you into it in the first place. If you don't really know much about the game, you're just seeing the logo like on the store or whatever, and you're like, that looks interesting. And then you read the description. So I think we subconsciously do find that logo important, but when you're asked the question directly, you don't realize you do that. So you don't even think about that as being important, even though it's one of the most important things, in my opinion.
I think that's a good point. And I think it's maybe different now because if you think about like how you used to find out about games was in like a game magazine and you would read about the game and you might not even see a trailer for a game back in the 90s because
true.
And then so you'd go to the store and just buy the game and you wouldn't really think about the logo at all. And nowadays you're on a PSN or Steam or whatever and you see like all the little squares and that's like your first. So oftentimes that can be your first point of contact with the game. And so, I think there's something to what you just said. Yeah.
And I the logos I can think of that, and I would like to like bring it to your logos, but the very first thing that I can think of is the logo behind Life is Strange. It depicts it as it's lettering. It's the way the font goes. It's written like almost like a journalistic notebook, the way the font is, and it also uses the what's the picture Polaroid picture as part of it. And you get to see that there's some journals involved, there's pictures involved. These are definitely things that are involved. And the other logo that I thought of is also Oxenfree, which is
I knew you had to bring that up somewhere.
Oxenfree is like the way the triangle is. You're just thinking, what is this? What kind of noticing it. And now bringing it back to Cory though, another logo I very much enjoy, and I want to bring it back to him because
he's the one that's here.
He's the one that's here. But honestly, I loved even Ghost of Tsushima's logo, the way it kind of strikes you, and you get that Japanese vibe in it. And there's something about logos where you design it into a way where, like you said, Cory, it's your first point of contact. You get to see it, and you just say to yourself, what is this?
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way to do it. And that's kind of another question I want to ask you. And we've already talked about how game logos trying to draw you in. Cory, you brought up that you can have a really crappy logo and the game still does really good. Now, I want to ask you from a game designer standpoint, or a game designer, graphic designer. We're kind of a game designer. Graphic designer standpoint. What sorts of aspects about logos draw people away from a game? Do you ever think about that when you're designing a logo?
I don't know. I mean, usually when I'm making a logo, I don't really think about it in that way. Like I usually get like briefed from the client, and they'll run me through the game. Like oftentimes I'll just get the same pitch that they made to the publisher, just so I can get a feel for everything. And they'll add a part about what they want for the logo, and oftentimes they'll just say we really don't like this game to use purple or whatever, just because of their competitor has purple in the logo or something like that. So oftentimes I kind of have like a parameter to work within, and then from that point I'm just trying to make the best thing I can. And so I mean, other than really obviously, you don't want to use like some ugly font or something.
Yeah.
That's kind of obvious, I guess. But no, I can't really think of an example where a logo was so bad that it repelled people from a game.
Yeah.
Because I feel like for that to happen, like other aspects of the game would probably coincidentally it would be bad. Like it would be one of those games on Steam that like is a penny or whatever, and insult me on Steam, but
we're talking about like Nintendo eShop games or something
where they didn't have a budget they didn't have a big budget for the game, and therefore did not have a big budget for their graphic designer, or they did it themselves when they don't have the education.
There's a lot. I guess there's some maybe that might have like kind of like programmer art, and then they just never change the logo because it's a small team. But that's understandable. I mean, I commend anyone who's doing it all one person, even if they're not a designer. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of want to bring into your kind of style in this, and the other question I would have for you is, minimalistic styles in game logos. So the one thing I kind of want to, kind of mold these two questions together for you. The one thing I was thinking as you were talking, especially with having a really bad font or something, is that you kind of have this tendency to have minimalistic styles. Less is more when it comes to logos. Now, the way I want to blend this together is minimalistic, I feel, is the best way to do it. Less is more, so you can see clearly the logo, but can a game logo be too simple that it looks, less minimalistic and more of, I just didn't try. I just put text up. What's your line there when you're thinking about minimalistic design?
Yeah, I think I think there's a lot of really good like not minimalist logos, like a lot of like crazy, like a Platinum Games logo where there's like tons of, or like a Gundam game logo where it's like it's like Gundam versus Echelon Third Max, EX, blah blah blah. There's angles going everywhere. I think those are cool too.
Or Jet Set Radio's logo kind of.
And I like to do logos like that every once in a while. Like I a lot of times when I do stuff for Devolver, it tends to be like kind of a bit more wild and a bit more, less less is more, more is more sometimes. But and then the other way, I mean, if you just type something out and like you gotta have to put some thought into it. I think like there was like a trend in design on the internet like 10 years ago, like minimalist movie posters where people would basically just be like, here's like a poster for The Matrix, and it's just like white and then like a picture of like a pill or whatever, blue pill, and then it just says The Matrix in like Helvetica or something on the bottom. And that was like, people were like, whoa, that's cool for a little bit, and then it was just like, oh my god, this is so stupid. And and I think that I mean, I can't blame anyone for thinking something looks cool and going with it, but personally I like to have a bit more thought put into it. But you could have a game logo that's just something typed out, and if it's like the right font and the right style, that works too. But there's definitely a weird wobbly line, and it's definitely a game by game basis, and it's tricky. Every game is super different. Like a lot of the games logos I'll do will have tons of texture and light sources and roughened edges and some and some games are just really super hyper simple. So definitely runs the gamut.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And as you were talking, there are some things where it is just words. You brought up even the Last of Us logo, and what it is, it's there's not much symbols involved. There is just the text, and I can think of the Last of Us Part 2 logo where it's just the letters stacked, and there's there's even something that you always have to think about, how close the letters have to be and how much line height have to do, because there's so many things that you have to think of that contribute to what will make this logo kind of stand out. And I think they hit that mark, like what you're saying. And even your logo with below, and I know I brought that up again, it almost casts this shadow. And you get to see that the game is going to be descending, right? I did want to bring up something before we go into social media answers. Talk about minimalistic design. I brought up your Game Informer logo, or your Game Informer article. Your interview, your article. And you talked a little bit about the Oculus logo right there. And a lot of people might have thought that when you designed that, you didn't take a lot of time with it. They just kind of drew a circle and that was it. If you don't know what the Oculus logo is, Google. I don't know.
Yeah. Just look it up.
Just look it up. Oculus logo. And even just having that, did you take a lot of time with that? Like a lot of thought?
Yeah, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like a multi-year long. That was the longest project I've ever done, I think. Yeah, it took forever. Yeah, we probably made like 800 different logos for that, I would guess. Like, so I was working on that before Facebook bought them.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, and then that went for a very long time, and eventually, we kind of they put together a team. So it was me and two other people, and then their creative director there, and we all worked together on it. And it was pretty fun. It was kind of like a big jam session when we were all together in California making it. And feel like we were just basically doing every combination of an O and an I shape. And I think Mackie Saturday, another designer, he had that on his computer. And at that point, we had basically done like every single combination where it's like, what about this one? And then we're like, oh yeah, that. I mean, we can't use that as a logo because it's too simple, I think, probably. And they're like, wait, no, actually, it kind of feels perfect. Yeah. Mackie Saturday is an incredible designer too. He did the old Instagram like cursive font and whatnot. And
wow. And
so it was. And then we kind of just built out a brand around that symbol, and then the creative director, he pitched it, and then they were like, "Yeah, let's go. That sounds great." And then it was also I think it was difficult to get a trademark for because it was so simple. That's another thing. It's
really
usually when you're making a logo, it has to have a quite distinct aspect to it. To get copyright or a trademark, and usually the goal is to have it's a bit easier if it's like, oh, there's a similar logo but it's in the food sector or something, where it's like there's no risk of confusion. As far as I understand, I think that's a factor. I could be totally wrong. I'm not a lawyer, but so that's another thing to keep in mind when designing. But I mean the oftentimes, I guess, the point is the most simple looking things can be the most difficult to do. And
that's what I love about kind of your designs here. Like you can go from range to range, from the most minimalistic to the most artistic, like I said, I brought up, Ghost of Tsushima, of course, that logo was great. And then of course the Oculus was great. They're great in their own ways here. And I kind of want to actually go into our segment of social media answers. Wow.
Is that a segment now?
It's a segment now. All right, we're here with social media answers.
So strange.
I ask you on social media, we can follow us on Twitter at Gaming Groceries, or you can follow us on Instagram, Games and Groceries, all one word, or even on Facebook if you really want to. And we also now have a Discord. We have a Discord channel. You can go on there, and I will ask you the question on the Discord channel. You can answer from there. So isn't that nice and lovely of me? I am generous, as one might say. But People. But so I asked you, how have game logos drawn you closer to playing the game? And the first answer, and that's why I was very interested to bring you on, Cory, is from Commander Nikki, who says, actual logo like your G&G pineapple, the pineapple that we have for the pineapple. She said, no, not that I remember at least. And that's what we'll talk about later. Box art, yes, definitely. But also sometimes not even that. What drives me toward a game is hearing about them on social media. Now I'm trying to think of game logos, and all I can think of is the devs behind it. And that's the thing, is that, one thing, have to be clear about this. The developers are important. Hooray!
Yes.
I should
Go them.
Go game developers. But she doesn't even remember any game logos that really got her to love a game at all. And that's what I kind of want to talk to you about. Is, do you ever feel like you don't get enough recognition, or do you find yourself thinking that you don't want people giving you a lot of recognition for the art that you do? What do you think?
I like recognition, but I also don't mind if I don't get any.
Do you ever get jealous of game developers? Is what I'm asking you.
Sorry?
Do you ever get jealous of game developers? Is what I'm asking.
They do way more work on their projects than I do.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's all good. I don't really have any complaints.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it might just come down to like a personality type situation where maybe people are more visually minded in a certain way or something. I don't know. I always notice them, but it's probably just because I'm a designer, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess I do want to ask you then, when you fell in love with graphic design, was that because you were so into logos, or was it just more interested that you were very talented in this sort of field, or was it a little bit of both?
Well, no, I didn't really get an interest in logo. I mean, I always liked logos, but I wasn't really my main focus until after I graduated. So definitely more of a later in life thing. I guess when I started design, like in college, I didn't really have a specific focus really, and I was just doing my classes and whatnot, and I kind of just did all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I think once I started doing logos, that was the thing that resonated with potential clients and stuff.
Yeah.
So I kept doing it, and it's been a pretty good living. So yeah, and I grew to really appreciate it a lot more after that.
Yeah, it's mostly once you actually do the thing that you start to grow appreciation for that very thing.
Yeah.
It even goes into cooking. You go out to eat and you don't really know how the dish was prepared, but the more you know about cooking, the better you appreciate the meal that was put together for you.
That's the perfect way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess same thing for design as well, or even podcasting, if you will. But that's what brings me to my second social media answer, and it's actually on the polar opposite, where it comes from Twofer Gaming, who comments all the time. What's up, Twofer? But I know he's a lot more engaged in artistic looks, and he's very much into as he's put it, emo music. So he's very emotional, if you will.
Oh, goodness gracious.
But Twofer says, I love seeing logos outside of the particular game, like on a bumper sticker or even a tattoo. It's like a message saying, I'm cool, and if you recognize this logo, then you're cool too, and we probably could be friends. He then goes on to say, usually it was the box art back in the day, but that would pique my interest. That's what we relied on to let us know what the game was all about. Sadly, box art was better than the actual game. Expect for the Bucky O'Hare on the NES. Bucky O'Hare, I can't remember that one. Good memories of seeing that in the store and staring at that entire ride home, that cover art. Yeah. Still my favorite NES game. So what he says is that he likes seeing it outside of the game. And I know a lot of people who have video game
Oh,
tattoos.
yeah.
In fact, like I said, I kind of want the Oxenfree tattoo, somewhere, and just to say, is leave possible? That'd be cool. But I'm too much of a wussy. But it is what it is. But what about you? I'm going to bring it back to you, Cory, since we're here to talk to you.
Yeah.
But do you ever get joy whenever somebody tattoos? That's one question. Have you seen anybody tattoo one of your logos onto themselves? Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I think there's been a few. I can't remember which.
Yeah.
But I know I've seen it a couple of times. I'd be like, I definitely, people have been like, hey, can I get a file for this logo so I can get it tattooed? And I'll be like, let me check and make sure it's okay to send.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's always cool with it. So yeah, that's happened a few times. Actually, I can go on a slight tangent. So like when I was doing, I did an album art for this really great album called Romoplasm by Baths. He's like a really amazing electronic musician, and the artwork for the logo was kind of for the album art was kind of inspired by Wipeout, the game.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
PlayStation game. And so we did like all these for each song. There's like a tiny little like logo mark. Oh. And then one of his fans had one of the songs really resonate with them, and they got the logo for that tattooed, and I thought that was kind of cool. So semi game related in a sense, but yeah. And
totally.
then I'm sorry.
No. I was gonna say like totally, but like that's the thing. Do you ever feel honored for that? Do you ever feel weird about it or like surreal about it when somebody wants to be, tattooed with one of your logos?
I mean, no, it's a kind of an honor, I guess. I feel really very. It feels amazing whenever I see a logo of mine in use anywhere in the environment. Is always just super. It's still surreal. Like one of the more wild ones was like at the playoffs and the NBA playoffs. It had, I think on one time it had like the Oculus logo on the court and the Bleacher Report Kicks logo on the court at the same time. I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. Two logos on the NBA finals or
awesome.
NBA playoffs. And whenever you see like a billboard or like go to like a trade show and they have like the huge booths with the logo, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So I think the last question I'll ask before we go into, our final segment here, if you had to choose one of your logos to tattoo on yourself, which would it be and where?
And where?
Oh no, I don't have any tattoos as of right now. Let me look at my logos real quick.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Actually, I really like. Recently, I did one for the Video Game History Foundation, and it's very, very. It's a square and a hexagon and a circle.
Oh yeah.
So I think that would be so simple that it wouldn't really look like I was referencing anything specifically, and maybe I just like geometry a lot. So I would do that, and it would be on my. I don't know, maybe my arm.
Yeah, that's a safe answer.
Yeah.
As a first tattoo, I feel like you kind of have to do your arm, maybe. Otherwise, it would be a little weird. If it was on my leg, it would seem imbalanced or something.
I feel like everyone's first, like a lot of first tattoos are on your arms
like forearm, yeah.
Because it's like it's your first tattoo. You want everyone to see it.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Look, I got a tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm doing.
But I would kind of want to I'd half hide it, so maybe I'd put it here, and if I choose to wear a sleeveless shirt,
there.
Exactly.
It's a nice surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Cory, that was a great answer, but unfortunately, we were looking for the Oculus logo in your eyeball. The Oculus logo in your eyeball.
Strange.
That's the right answer.
All right, then you get it.
I will. But I'm allergic to tattoos, so it is what it is.
You're not.
Why don't we go into our last segment here? Closing thoughts. But yeah, so if you want to answer any more questions, definitely hop on our Discord channel. It's brand new. I'll ask you questions there, as well as, social media. You can check out Facebook if you want to.
I'll be on the Discord too.
She'll be on
If anyone
Discord.
wants to talk to me.
But yeah, join our Discord. It's totally public. And yeah, so I kind of want to move into closing thoughts here. And the closing thoughts is what's wrong with me that I want an Oculus in my eyeball?
Honey, that'll take much longer than what we have left of this episode.
But other than psychological questions, so I kind of want to go into the final subject, kind of closing thoughts here with a question that we brought up earlier in this conversation. Are the best logos actually designed to be exiting your even thought? Is it more subconscious that you see this logo? Should it fit well into the game's design? And I kind of want to end off on there. So, Cory, what are your thoughts? Do you want your logo to be like very much stand out, like to be the head, or do you want it to just be in the flow of things? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's on a game by game basis for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I want it to be like a big statement and then kind of like a mic drop kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I want it to just really fit in. It just depends on the game and the art in the game and the setting it'll be in. I think like for instance, the Valorant logo is. I feel personally like it's quite like a statement and it's pretty like impactful and loud looking, especially how they turned it into like a whole brand. Like the way all their assets look is so cool and graphic and like more so than most games for sure, especially recent games. Like it all just looks really, really like designed and a little bit chaotic in a really cool way.
Yeah.
And I think the graphic design really takes over all of the like the promotional aspect of that game in a really fantastic way, and they did an amazing job of rolling it out. But then, yeah, in other cases, it's more about the facilitating the game art. Like going back to Last of Us again, you definitely that facilitates more than it amplifies, I would say. So I think the thing you're thinking of when you think of Last of Us is like the environments and the characters, and I don't really think a logo would maybe be too distracting if it was doing too much attention grabbing.
That's true.
Not to take anything away from the logo. I think it's like an incredible logo. So The Last of Us, but yeah, it's just depends on the game. If you want to be loud or more as take a back seat to the art in the game.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
For the answer, but
no, that's the thing is that do you want to have more people to appreciate and not appreciate as in like putting them on a frame and just cherishing it, but do you want more people to draw more attention to what the logo actually says about the game, or do you want it to just be there and people can appreciate it or not appreciate it?
Yeah, I think it's okay how it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. When I do a logo, I try to make it fairly self-explanatory for the onlooker.
Yeah.
That you can just see it and get the vibe, and then there's not really a crazy reference to something that you wouldn't know about. So yeah, I think it's okay. I think they get enough attention as it is.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Maybe it's because I'm around it all the time, and that's kind of a lot of my conversation online and whatnot is about design. So I might be maybe I'm a little bit tired of talking about it too much online, but no, I think it's a healthy amount right now.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And that's what I'm thinking too, is that I like what you said before, that is your first point of entry going into a game. It's your first thing that you look at because you want to know firstly, what's the title of this game? And sometimes that logo just pops out at you and it's interesting. It's something that stands out. And I think when I'm going through like the Xbox store, because I'm an Xbox fanboy, shame on me, I understand. But I do go through the different tiles, and I definitely look at those logos, and it's the very first point of like, should I click on this? It's a lot like designing a thumbnail for YouTube. It's the very first thing that you see, and you need to design it in a way where people are just like, wait, I need to stop and see what this is all about.
Yeah.
Liz, what are your thoughts on this?
I think for logos for games, kind of like what you were saying was that it needs to flow. It needs to match. Like, I feel like it just needs to match the game's vibe.
Yeah.
Because, like, for me, when I look at a cover, if it's crazy looking, I'm probably not going to play that game.
Fair.
Because I like more just like chill, slow paced games.
Yeah.
So I would look for more of like a calm, simple looking logo or like design or logo or something like that. But even if it's not like a slogan, because I'm thinking of The Last of Us, it's a more simple design, but you can still see that there's like grittiness. There's going to be something intense in it. So I think that's the most important thing when you're looking at a logo for a game, is that it needs to match
the vibe
of the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's it. Like, I think it should be more of like a subconscious thing that people will look at and know what the game is about almost, or know the vibe of the game at least. Because like I said, I don't think anyone stands there and says, wow, this logo's telling me that the vibe of this game. No, you just look at it and you judge the game based on what that looks like. Yeah. So I think it just needs to be a subconscious, like, telling you what this game what the type of feeling this game is going to give you.
Exactly. And I like it when games just kind of give you that sort of vibe and you can really go after it, I think, that's a good way to kind of close out this conversation, is just to understand that, there is a lot of work involved, like what you were saying, Cory, that even just the Oculus took multi-years, 800 different drafts, with a guy named Mackie Saturday. Mackie Saturday?
Yeah, Mackie Saturday. He's an amazing designer, yeah.
Is that his real name, or did he just... Yeah,
and he has the Twitter handle @Saturday somehow.
Nice.
How? It's like, my goodness.
I know.
That's crazy, though. But, you have your sort of multi-year, really put a lot of thought to it. You really have a lot of drafts behind it, and it ends up with a great piece of art. And I'm not trying to say that everything should be in a museum, but, we should take a little bit of time to see what this logo is trying to tell you when you're entering into a game. But yeah, I think we can close out our conversation here. But Cory, before we go, we want to roll out the red carpet for you. We want to ask you, how can we follow you? Where are you? Are there any projects that we should be looking out for, that you can be saying that, we should be looking out for? I want to give it to you. Where can we find you? What should we be looking out for?
I'm on Twitter, Cory Schmitz. I guess you can check the spelling on the podcast title.
Yeah.
And then, CorySchmitz.com is my site for my work. Upcoming stuff. I have quite a few things, but it's all super top secret. But I think you'll be excited.
Right.
Nice.
Once you find out. Quite a few things this year. It's off to a pretty good start. And then some things from last year that have yet to be announced. Everything I do is is I wait for I do a logo for a game and then wait, half a year or whatever until the trailer shows up, and then I can be like, hey, look what I did.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you keep an eye out on my Twitter, I tweet 99% of the stuff I work on. So
you're a great
I'm a great Twitterer.
You're a great follow on Twitter. I love the feeds on there. I'm very excited for a certain game that I will not Jet. But I'm very excited. And that's the thing. I didn't want to ask too much about any projects that you're doing because, anybody listening, NDAs are a thing.
Yeah.
And they're very binding. So
Tough pickles.
very tough pickles. But
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see more of your work going on Twitter. And I will have all the links to his Twitter, Instagram if you want to follow him there, especially his website. Definitely check out his website, CorySchmitz.com. We can see all the logos that he's done. My final question before we go out, do you do, and this is just like kind of questions for anybody's listening, do you kind of do independent work or do you kind of close yourself off to game companies or anything like that?
Independent work in what sense?
Let's say a podcaster would like a logo.
I sometimes do, like a smaller project. It's really tough nowadays because of my scheduling. It's like it's getting a little bit nuts where I have to start telling people like, well, in 3 months I can start working on this because the lead times are like crazy. But every once in a while, hit me up if you
nice
make something work. But usually I try to stick to like a certain amount of projects at a time, and it's hard to say no sometimes.
Yeah,
I feel that one.
Yeah.
So if you're a game company,
very fortunate position to be in, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, you never run out of work. So, in 2020, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. I'm blessed. I feel very blessed.
And so if you're a game company, if you're working on a certain game and you haven't asked Cory Schmitz what's wrong with you, for one thing, and two,
also thanks for watching.
Ubisoft. But Cory, thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing your thoughts here. It's been a blast.
Very thoughtful questions. It was very nice.
Oh,
I
thank
really
you, man.
appreciate it.
And I think we'll just close out the show here.
Yeah.
We thank you for listening to this week's Games and Groceries podcast. Of course, we mentioned you can follow us on social media at Gaming Groceries on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, all that. Definitely join the Discord. It is linked down below. And if you want to ask us any questions, we'll have a podcast questions on the Discord. So check that one out. Go follow Cory. Go check out his work. Appreciate game logos. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.